In this lesson, we're going to talk about audio effects and transitions in Premiere Pro. So basically, we will continue to talk about effects as we did in the previous lesson, but we're going to concentrate on the audio. And we can see here, this is the interface that it's available inside the various interface, which is specific for audio editing. In the previous lesson, we focused on the time editing and remapping. So we saw how we can speed up time or slow the time and do slow motion effects and time lapse, stop motion, etc., etc. Well, that also applies to the audio. So if you want to like detach the audio from the video so that you don't want to speed up, you can do that. As we already know, we can detach the audio tracks from the video tracks. So essentially, you can synchronize or desynchronize the various tracks as we saw in lessons about the timeline management. So I'm just gonna close all the projects here, start a new one, so we can start again by creating a new lesson, which is gonna be our lesson 16, and also a new project folder, which is gonna be, as usual, the project 16 related to the 16 lesson. And let's create a new empty space. And we're gonna switch again to audio. You can still work in Essentials, but as we saw with the other interfaces, this one is created for you by Premiere to focus more on the audio editing. And we can see we have the audio mixer right here, the program right here, the lesson right here, really small. And here we can work and manage the various sounds effects and adjustments or alteration. So to start, I want to use one of my videos. So I want to right click and import and get the video from my folder. And it's going to be this one here that contains both the video and audio. You need to make sure that your video contains audio if you want to use the audio. And you can see it from here. So it contains a linked audio, so which means it's synchronized and everything. So if I click and drag this inside the sequence, I can start by using this. Now, if I go forward, we can start to see things happening here in the mixer and also in this little panel next to the timeline, which is going to show us the overall volume. Now, volume is probably the most important thing when you're working with audio, and especially if you're working with multiple tracks. So perhaps you want to increase the audio of one track and decrease the other. And you can do that with a mixer. We're going to see it shortly. So in this video in particular, I also have like someone talking. So this is shown right here. So you can see in the little timeline track, you have a series of buttons that we're going to use. Let's also expand this a little bit more since we are working with audio. Also want to expand a little bit the video. So you can see this is the sound waves that can help us to understand better what's going on. If it's like, some music, probably you will see a different displays with, I don't know, drums or anything. So you can synchronize the images with the audio a little bit. So you can help yourself using this audio sound. So it's better to expand this a little bit. So if I play this back, I can see here that I have one main, well, this is the master or main mix. And this one here is the audio from A1, which is the first track here, A1. So the first thing I can do is just decrease the volume here or increase the volume. Now make sure that this green bar never go to the red. Otherwise, it means the volume is too loud. And I don't want to do that because it could be annoying. So I'm just going to drop this down actually. And you can see these are all minus. Now these are decibel values. So usually we always go down to negative values. But sometimes we need to increase the overall volume of the track if it's too low. And we can do that in using the clip directly. So also we can mute here. We can solo, and as we already saw before, we can also find the same feature right here. So mute is to mute, so we won't hear any sound, and solo is when we only want to hear this track and we don't want to hear anything else. And also you have record here. You can do a voiceover record. You can do it. You also have a record button here, and this is also if you want to mark if you want to go to in and out points, but if you remember from the source panel, we can also divide here. We can view the audio and we can view the video, and we can have them synchronized or not. We can have like different in points and out points if we want. Now these are synchronized at the moment, but again, we saw before how we can desynchronize the two. So this is another way you can check the audio file from here, and you can set up in points and out points. And we can also loop the audio or the actual playback. And also up here we can change some of these features, especially the panning here. So we can go from left to right. If you're using a stereo audio, meaning that using two channels, one is left, one is right. So you can like change where the sound is coming from the left here or from the right here. And this is especially, um, you can feel this if you're using like headphones or like a proper sound system. You can feel the stereo setup. Now you can also use 5.1, so more advanced audio tracks and more advanced audio system. So in that case, I want to go here in the project, and I want to create, right click, I want to create a new sequence. And when you create a new sequence, this is when you define the type of video you want to use, but also in the settings here, we can change the audio, so you can increase the audio quality. And if you move on here in the tracks, we can define how many video tracks, but also how many audio tracks we want to use. And we can already use a little bit of balancing or panning. And we can also choose here if we want to do stereo or if we want to do 5.1 or multi-channel or mono. So let's say I want to do 5.1. Let's say okay. So this is going to be my new timeline with the 5 points of the system. So in this case, we have like 3 forward directions and 2 from the back, and we can tune all of these. So this is basically a little bit more complex. Now I will use the stereo mode, and I want to add another clip. So let me see here. I can use maybe this one, and I'm gonna drop it directly in the timeline. So now the two are overlapping, meaning that both the audio and the video will overlap. And you can see now this is taking the second audio track down here. So what we can do is drop this down, because this is really noisy, so I don't really want to hear too much of that. So I can drop it down, and it will be better for the overall sound. But also something else I want to do is to, well, make some space here in the timeline, and I want to push this next to this. And also I can click and drag this so that they are consequent and one after the other. So with the rubber band, this little line that we have in the clip visible in the timeline. So if you drop down the video rubber band, we saw that this is related to opacity. But we can also change that. If we right click, we can change this to any effect. Here in the show clip keyframe, you can change it like to motion or time remapping if we're working with time, etc., etc. We can add other effects, as we saw again in previous videos, and we can switch the control of this, so we can manage anything with this. But right now it's set to opacity. So if I drop down this, it means the video is going to be less opaque, more transparent. If I change here the rubber band and I push the rubber band down, you can see it's affecting the volume or the decibel. So this is going to decrease the overall volume for this clip. Now, if I want to match the next video to this one in terms of same properties, I can right click and I can copy here, and I can paste the attributes. So paste attributes will paste the attributes that I want. And this goes for the videos as well as for the audio. So the motion, the opacity, the time remapping, and if you want, you can specify also some effects, and also the volume, the panner, and also the other settings that we can do in the essential sound sections right here. And we're gonna see this shortly. Well, let's say okay. So now everything is, similar. These two now are similar because we copied the properties. So if I right click again, we also have other audio settings here. We have audio gain. So again, if the audio is too low, we can adjust, we can make it like higher. So we can push everything up, and that's gonna affect the overall track, or we can push it down if it's too loud. So we can adjust it a little bit. And here we can also go to the audio channels and see the various channels for this. And also what we can do is go to auto tag. So this is gonna open, you can see the essential sound panel. We're gonna come back here and enable enhanced speech. Now this is really important. If you don't have like a professional microphone, probably the sound of the speech, it will not be great or too great. Well, you can fix it, you can adjust it, you can improve it by using this. And this is kind of AI feature that is going to automatically analyze the clip and it's going to adjust it automatically. So probably now you will hear it better than the original. And you can see this is also available here, again, in the essential sound. So every time we click here somewhere, well, this is for the FX. So if we click on FX, we can open up the FX control. And as we saw before, we have all the video effects, the time effects, and then down here, now we can see the enhanced speech. And here we can also adjust the various audio effects. We have volume here, and also from here we can change we can increase or decrease the decibel. So same thing we do here, basically. You can see it's affecting this value. And then you have the panel, again, to switch from one side to the other, from right to left. And here we can see the essential sounds. So this panel is divided into two. One is for browsing. So for example, if you're looking for something specific, let's reset this. You can set some like keywords. I can put like emotional, atmospheric, and let's see here, inspiring and mysterious. So I can set a series of keywords, and that's gonna return with you can see here some tracks, and I can click play. So if I like one of these, I can just click and drag and position this into the next available empty track. So let me just give more space to the audio right here. So that's the other one. I can increase this and click and drag. So we can see this has left and right. So we can move it around. You can see it's really long. And now the two are overlapping. So to manage those, we go back in the mixer again, try to hear what's happening, and then like tweak this in order to make some of the sounds stand out, and others, we can lower down the speech, we can increase the sound, the music, or we can have like another like carpet sound. So we can mix all the audio files here. In the edit part, instead, we can select clips with the tags that have dialogue, for example. So we can directly select the ones that have this little tag. And again, we can activate or not the enhance speech effect. We also have some custom presets. So for example, we can use from the radio effect. And you can see it's changing here, especially the equalizer feature. So this is like when we work with the graphics. So it's a panel where you can manage everything. So you have loudness, you can repair, you can apply clarity or not, you can apply the equalizer effects and change here also the various high and low tones. And then we have vocal enhancer, we have reverb. If we want to use some creative effects, we can either like fix and adjust and do correction, or we can do alteration, just like again in color correction. We can do also like uh, enhancing or improving or changing everything. And also we can clip the volume here or mute. So it's kind of a, overall panel where we can set everything. We can also define our own presets. We can save the new settings and call them as our new preset. We can recall these anytime. We can switch it back to any of the presets. We can clear the audio type. So now there will not be the anything tagged. So let's do auto tag again. Or if you do Control Z, you can define if this is music, or this is sound effects, or this is an ambience sound, or if there is a dialogue. So which is going to be like your preferred use for this track. And for example, this could be music instead. So again, we can try, well, it's already recognizing this as music because probably this was already all fixed for us. And we can also adjust the duration just like for videos. And this is going to automatically adjust the duration. So it's going to figure out how you can use this as best. You just need to target the new duration here. So let's set this to like 30 seconds. And you can stretch, or you can just remix. Remix means that it's going to do a remix for this in order to like compress that audio that is really long into that like short amount of time, and try to play it back and see what's happening here. This is again some artificial intelligence feature that we have in Premiere Pro. Let's try also with the stretch. So you can see that this is kind of affecting the timeline again. And let's put this to like 60 seconds, which means 1 minute. So it's gonna, again, try to stretch it, compress it to your need. And then we have other settings here, as you can see. So, well, you have a lot of features that you can experiment with. Now, another way we can, let me just go back, Control Z to the original track. So this one here. We can also use in the editing tools here, in the editing toolbar, we can use the remix tool, which we didn't talk about when we were talking about the standard editing, because this is kind of new. And again, it's basically what we're doing here. So if I enlarge the visibility here in the timeline, and I take this track from the edge and click and drag and make it fit in there, you can see it's going to try to compress this. Well, it cannot do more than that, but you can see that it's just compressing this with an artificial intelligence operation, automatically making it fit in there. And probably in the future, well, surely in the future, we will have these similar features also for video files. So when you increase the length by creating and like automatically stretching the file and generating like content with artificial intelligence. Now, just like for the video, also for the audio, we have a website where you can get download like free clips, free tracks, and if you just search for it, you can see also in Pixabay, we use this for videos. You find also some sound effects. Now, this is in Italian right now, but it's pretty understandable. This is music, and then you have sound effects, etc., etc. So in my case here, I just searched for like some nature sound, and I found this one here. So if I click, I can just download it actually, and that's it. So I just need to save it. I'm gonna save it in my project 16, and let me see here. There you go. So I can use it now in my project. You can also donate here and check the profile of this author, again from Pixabay. And also you can find music and other interesting stuff in here. Now, Premiere Pro reads almost every audio format, but the most important, basically. And the most popular here are the WAV and the MP3. So probably you will find these two formats when downloading from other website. Now, before I close the browser here, I just want to point out that you have the manual that will explain each single audio effects, each single parameter, because there are a lot of audio effects and these are pretty technical. So you can go here and see all of those if you're interested, if you want to know more, if you want to go more in depth. I will not be able to show you everything here because also it's difficult because it's not visible. These are just sounds and sound effects. So you need to hear them and you need to have like a situation like with headphones where you can pay closer attention on what you're doing in the audio tracks of your video composition. So let me bring in also the other track that I've just downloaded. I'm gonna expand a little bit again, a little bit more the audio part, and I'm just gonna go here as usual, import, and just like with other type of multimedia, if you want to know, let me just find a folder here, project 16, and there it is. So if you want to know which are compatible formats, you can go here and you can see from here. But essentially, if it's not showing up here, is not available in Premiere Pro. The format is not recognized. But there are also audio converters in the web that you can use to convert the format. So I'm going to open this, and you'll find other video guides in the channel if you look for them. So I'm going to open this. You can see this is only audio, and you can basically spot which one are just audios and which ones are video and audio. So I'm gonna click drag and place it in here. So now we have another one. And again, with the mixer or remix tool, I can just see how long is this, and I can just, and it's showing that this is an ambient effect. So I can make this smaller. Let me show you what happens if I have a small track and I make it bigger. So you can see it's analyzing it, and it's just going to, I think, replicate what it's seeing here. It's just like, it's going to try to extend that just by repeating it or trying to do a little bit of mixing so that it doesn't sound exactly like loop sound. So that's what the artificial intelligence does. It just generate extra content that is not in there just by taking what's already in there. And you can see now I have this. It's really way longer than before. And everything that wasn't there before is just been automatically generated. So now we have 3 tracks, and it's starting to get too noisy here. So again, with the mixer, if I play everything, I can try to understand, if I want to push up some music or some ambience effect and drop down the speech, or all the way around, I can drop down the ambient, I can drop down the music, I can increase the speech. I can do this also animated. So let me stop this. So right now we're just like changing here the volume, and if you want also you can affect the panning here and the balance. If you right click, again, if you go all the way down to show clip keyframes, you can see you can use the volume or you can use the panner if you want, but let's stick with the volume. So if I want to animate all this stuff, so that I want to like increase the speech and then decrease it, and then I want to, make this volume change over time. Well, it's the same old story. We need to place some keyframes. So I can use the select, hold control key, and click here. So this is going to put the first keyframe. And then I can put another one here, holding control again. You can also convert. You can see this is the convert from linear to Bezier. And again, I can continue. If I want to change this into Bezier, I click again, or click once to make it linear, click and drag to make it Bezier. And I can push this up and I can push this down. So this means that the volume is going to go up and down. And continue here, I can push this down and continue here, push this up. You can see this is a curve, but again, if I hold control and click, this is going to become linear. So it's going to be like less gradual with another interpolation. And I think it's always better to have curves instead of linear things, because it's going to be less with a less it's going to be less blended. With the curves, you're going to have more audio blending. So now this audio will go up and down, and so you can mix everything like this. And so if I also go in the effects, we can see here the various keyframes we just inserted, and these are all different icons for Bezier, and you see here the incrementally, or let's right click the ease out or ease in feature. You can see here the little R watch. So here, if I hold control, I can also change it from here, and this is going to become linear. And again, click and drag to make it Bezier. This is going to be Bezier. And if I right click, I can make it auto Bezier. So is the one that we're using, or continuous Bezier, or we can hold even the sound and, you know, make it hold the volume in there. So we can also do it from here. You can do it from the timeline. You can do it from the effects control, depending which one you're more comfortable with. And well, that's basically it. We can change here the volume. We can change it directly in the curve. And now we have animated volume. Now, if you want to use fade in, fade out effects, well, let's go in this one here. So let's add also here some volume keys. So I'm going to click here, and let's bring this all the way down. So now we have completely mute, and then let's add another keyframe, and let's increase the decibel, and let's also expand this to see what's happening. So now this will go from zero sound to, you know, a sound that is hearable. And so we can do fade in, fade out effects ourselves by creating our keyframes here. And you can see here the line is going up. Or we can, if we expand this also, we can use this little icon right here, this little tag. So if I click and drag that, it's going to create a transition. And this is a fade in transition right here. So if I click onto the transition, I can see the duration of that transition. I can adjust that. So this is going to last 4 seconds, and it's going to incrementally make the audio fade in. And you can do also here, if we expand this a little bit, you can see also the fade out. So this is just transition, audio transition. So you can create your own transition using the volume. You can use it, the preset transition right here. And also we have transition in the effects. So if we open up the effects panel, we open up the audio transition, crossfade. You don't have too many. This one here now is the default. If I want to have here, right click, I can set this as default, or this one here. And again, I can click and drag, place it in there, and then perhaps adjust the transition duration so I can increase it. There you go. So now I have another transition. So when I click here now, I have another default transition. You can see this is more linear transition. So you can use auto transition, you can use audio effects. And as I was saying, there are a lot of effects here. So it's going to take a lot of time. And these are really technical. So maybe you don't want to know all of them. And some of these are, you know, quite understandable, like invert. So I can invert the sound, and here you can see now we have the invert, and then we have reverb, like surround reverb. And let's see here also we have some for creating chorus effects. And well, for most of these you need to click here to edit, and you can adjust here the various parameters. And again, you need to have, I think, headphones to understand these effects a little bit better. And what else? Well, we have delay effects or echo effects. Again, click, drag, and here you can check the type of settings, and we can amplify, we can do correction, we can do alteration. These are some corrections like dehammer is gonna take off the Hummer noise or sounds. Denoise is gonna take off the noise for, you know, like wind or white noise effects. De-reverb, so this is going to be the opposite of reverb. And I think you got the idea here, so you can continue by yourself. Just, you know, if you want, you can check also the manual if you want a quick explanation of for all this. So this will conclude this lesson. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to support us, please join the channel as a supporter and go check out other courses and video guides in the channel. See you in the next.